now they can finally talk about it. To tell us more about the why and what's been happening in the background, we've got TellTale CEO Jamie Ottilie and Nick Herman from AdHoc, who are co-developing the game with TellTale. You guys were a lot of the folks that worked on the original Season 1 of The Wolf Among Us, and now for Season 2, everyone has so many questions based on this trailer. But before we get into the content, Jamie, let's talk about where are we right now?
Well, we're actually in the game right now. So this is a virtual set. This is Godmother's, which is a quintessential New York dive bar.
But now redone in beautiful Unreal Engine. One of the things that we're also excited about, especially seeing the trailer, it's like how faithful it is to the original Season 1, but enhanced graphics, but still an amazing story, which is why we're all here for TellTale. We love the story and the characters. So Nick, tell us a bit about the story. Like, what can you tell us about Season 2?
Well, as we saw in the trailer, Bigby's in anger management. He's kind of dealing with a lot of those issues still. And, Season 2 is still a prequel to the comics, but it takes place about 6 months after Season 1 and kind of like the dead of winter. And, people have seen his new look. He's got that coat to keep him warm.
Now, you mentioned 6 months between the end of Season 1 and the start of Season 2. Can you at least tell us a little bit of what these characters have been up to in the intervening 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, Bigby, as you saw, is now kind of in anger management, but kind of more importantly, he's been suspended from his role as sheriff and it's like protector of Fabletown.
Yeah.
And Snow White, at the end of Season 1, Snow White has kind of found herself in this new role as deputy mayor because, the sort of old administration is out, they were corrupt, and you kind of rooted that out. And she's got to fill those shoes now, and she's kind of got some big ideas on how that's going to happen, but it clashes with Bigby's way of doing things. He's not super personable, and kind of results to some tactics that are less than kosher. So there's a little bit of tension there, and now he's in a new situation where he's not in Fabletown and he's kind of out there, and that leads him to meet this detective who is working on this case that kind of blurs the lines between the Fable and Mundy world.
Well, of course, everyone wants to know which characters, which fables are going to be represented in this game. We knew he would be back, but beyond that, what can you tell us about like which characters are returning? You talked about Snow, obviously, like there's certain characters that we would expect to be there, but can you confirm anyone that is going to be there, is not going to be there? Can you deny? Can you say who's not in the game?
We could probably talk a little bit about who else is going to be there. Okay. Obviously, as you said, Bigby and Snow will be back, reprising their roles. And then there's some fan favorites like Buffkin that'll be there, and then there's some new characters that we're introducing that you'll see in the trailer. Do you have any favorites from Season 1?
I was going to say there's some tease of maybe some Oz-related things, right?
There are some Oz characters in the game. They're a big addition.
So if they're in the trailer, does that mean they might be in the game?
I think we can probably confirm that.
It's probably confirmed. We probably just showed you that. So.
But that's part of what I think everyone's loved about this series is so many of the the classic fables represented. And for you guys looking at this, I mean, that's part of the fun of this, right? Is picking where the story is going to go. And what I love is that you're not just telling the comics again. So you have a lot of creative storytelling freedom to sort of come up with this, and that must be, part of the fun of this series, right? Is you can kind of pull from anything, right?
Yeah, and one of the best parts about Fables is how they sort of subvert your expectations of what these characters are actually like and what they would be like now, versus the old sort of Fables from over in Europe, and now it's modernized and they've changed. They're maybe they were that person, but now they're not. You can look at Bigby, he's a classic example. But yeah, and the other sort of big character that we're introducing is a detective, Faye Leung. She's a New York City police detective who's basically in the middle of a case that doesn't quite look right. And once Bigby gets his eyes on it, it's like clear, like something's leaking out into the city.
So, like Oz characters, we talked about that. They're going to be in there doing. I don't know how much you can say. Like, are we looking just at like episode 1 here in this trailer, or is this kind of across the season, or like what can you tell us?
The trailer's pretty focused on episode 1 to set up where we're going in this season.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, if they're in the beginning, you could probably expect to see them again a little bit later.
We would hope so.
I don't think we would introduce such cool characters and then
not use them.
Use them.
Never know what happens in episode 1, right? But it's like everything can change. But no, that's part of the thing. I think is people know that you're doing it episodically, and everyone I think is also curious about what the cadence of this is going to be and how you guys are developing it. TellTale is known for incredible episodic games, and that's one thing, Jamie, we should talk about. Like, this is the new TellTale. and you're using a new engine, which
Yep.
everyone's really excited about with Unreal. So
Yep.
is that probably the biggest shift, is like moving to new technology finally?
That's a big part of it. We've developed a lot of tools to enable content creation, kind of an iteration quickly around Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
So it really lets us focus on what's unique to TellTale games, or in the case of Wolf, we needed a specific renderer to get the lighting and the look correct in Unreal. And then Unreal takes a lot of heavy lifting off of our shoulders, right? It just works. So we can focus on what we need to do to make the game work.
From a gameplay perspective, though, can you talk a little bit about like the TellTale style? It's still the same gameplay style in terms of dialogue and choices and things like that. Like, with Unreal, does it allow more kind of gameplay, for lack of a better
It
term?
definitely gives us more options, but
Yeah.
I mean, people should, I think there's a delicate balance we're gonna have to walk of like, taking advantage of all this sort of new opportunity
Right.
and space, but also,
Not a
keeping
third-person action game.
Yeah, we got to keep it sort of rooted in its foundation
Yeah.
and like what people loved about the first one. But there are definitely going to be some additions. There's going to be some, we took a look at everything and we kind of assessed whether or not it was intentional or if it was something that was just the way we had to make it, in prior games.
Well, and the thing that we all want is great stories and great voices, and we're really excited that two of the actors from the original series are back again as Big B and Snow, and we're going to hear from them right now.